JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 26th of October 2020. So yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, view the charts, the usual stuff, guys. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So yep, feel free to visit us here at jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. Now, jumping into the charts. Now, the first one I want to pick up here is the German index, the German DAX. As you can see today, it drifted below this hurdle. Now, if you remember, if you watched my morning video today, my Trader's Espresso, I've mentioned this, guys, that if we see a drop below this 12,341 territory right here, then yes, we could start looking at some lower levels. As you can see, the index drifted further south. It didn't quite really reach that other target that I had in mind here, the low of the 30th of July, which is around the 12,254. It just kind of reversed back to the upside, slightly from above that area. Excuse me. But it still remains below this 12,341 territory that I spoke about this morning. Now, basically, at the moment, everything's looking quite bad, I would say, for this index. However, let's not rush into anything yet. Yes, on one side, we are still trading below this hurdle, but we're not really dropping heavily to the downside. So let's see how today's daily candle will end and where the index is going to close today. If it stays below this area, then yep, tomorrow I'll continue targeting the downside. Maybe I'll aim for some areas even below this, the low of the 30th of July, near the 12,254 mark. If so, then yes, then the next target here is the 11,957 mark, which is the low of the 25th of June. But long story short, basically, for now, everything's kind of leading a little bit more towards the downside. In order to consider the upside, I would need to see this one climbing back inside the rising channel pattern, and then maybe pushing above this 12,728 zone. Now, jumping into NASDAQ 100, and here, for example, the price on Friday, or actually no, I'm sorry, on Friday, but today already. I need to swap my time here. We've turned the clocks now, so the market is already open, and now you can see that the index is trading nicely in the positive territory. Or actually it was slightly in the positive territory a few in the beginning, but yep, now it's kind of it seems that it's trying to get back into that area again. But the most important is that it's stuck here in between these two levels. Now, if you remember last week, I've mentioned that as long as the price remains between these two areas, between these two levels, then yep, we're just gonna well, continue remaining neutral, because if you want to look at some higher levels, then at least wait for a nice daily close above this 11,765 territory. But if you're looking for some downside, then wait for a drop below that 11,566 territory right here. For now, yes, for now, like I said, we will be very careful. If we do get a push through one of these levels, then yep, that's when I'm gonna consider the next short-term directional move, because at the moment it's quite tricky, and as you can see, the index as we speak, it's pushing back into positive territory. However, well, it's just the beginning of the day, trading day in the US, so let's see where this is going to end up being, and or should I say end up going. But keep your eyes on these two levels. Gold is pushing to the upside again. Initially it was trading below this upside support line taken from the low of the 28th of September. Now it's traveling back up here. It's currently sitting near this 21-day EMA. So yep, let's see if we can have this one traveling further north. I mean, the positive side is that the fact that the price is back above this upside line. If it climbs over that 21-day EMA, then yep, we could start looking at a potential move towards this 1933 territory. However, as you remember me saying that I'll only look at some upside, or should I say I'll only get a bit more comfortable with the upside if we get a nice push above the 1933 territory right here. A nice good pop above this area would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and yep, more buyers could be joining in. Ethereum. So Ethereum is at an interesting spot. So it could be flagging out here. It could be forming a possible bullish flag. But if you remember the same story as with the Shanghai Composite, when I've showed you that the index was also forming a possible bullish flag, but to be honest, it didn't really quite work out. So this is one of those moments where wait for that confirmation break. So if we get a pop above this high, the current highest point of October near the 421 zone, then yes, we could maybe then consider some higher levels and yep, a further move north. However, at the moment it's stuck here. It's on the positive note, it's still trading above this hurdle, this 394.95 zone right here. If it continues to do so, then yep, maybe I'll consider this this little kind of correction lower as a potential bullish flag, and yep, we could see this one pushing higher. However, I would get more comfortable with that idea only if we get a push above this 421 zone. In terms of the downside, now if it drops below the 394 territory, somewhere around here, all this area right here will be a bit of a neutral one for us, because I would prefer to see maybe a drop below the 365 zone right here in order to consider some lower areas. But even then, we need to be very careful, because we do have this upside support line here which could come into play. So that's why maybe this level here is not the ideal one for examining the downside, but it just could strengthen that the theory that yes, this could drift further south. But at the moment, guys, like I said, all this area right here would be a difficult one for us. You could, of course, if you want, you could start looking at some lower levels if we get a drop below the 394 territory right here. But in that case, well, have a very tight stop loss just in case this suddenly reverses sharply to the upside. And of course, keep your eyes on the 21-day EMA, because as you can see, recently here around mid-October, it did act as a fantastic area of support. So again, let's see if something like this will happen again. If it doesn't, then all eyes are on this 421 zone. AUD USD. So I haven't looked at this one for quite a while, but still the kind of the same game plan remains. We are still trading below this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 1st of September. But again, the idea that I talked about previously was that in a way, even if it travels a little bit higher, if it struggles to overcome this downside line, then yes, another round of selling here could be possible. Then yes, a drop below the 0.7085 territory right here could open the door towards the 0.70 zone, right? The psychological 0.70 zone, where the pair kind of found good support in the end of September. But again, at the moment, we are being very careful. At the moment, I'm not going to do anything yet. I'm just going to continue observing the price action. If it travels a little bit higher, but fails to move above this downside line, then yes, another round of selling here could be possible. But to strengthen that idea, a drop below the 0.7085 territory would be ideal. In terms of the upside, well, as you understood now, we need to see a break of this downside line first before examining some higher levels. USDCAD. USDCAD is still flirting with this area, this 1.31 zone. As you can see, it continues to act as a very nice area of support. The pair rebounded from this area and traveled higher, but let's see if the 21-day EMA will actually do the same trick as it did here on the 15th and 16th of October. What I mean is that let's see if it's going to play out as a nice area of resistance. At the moment, it's doing the trick. It's doing the same thing again. That's why I have my scenario, the upside scenario from around here, from around the 1.3240 territory. A nice good break above this, could open the door towards higher levels. But at the moment, it's a bit of a difficult one here for even for the bears and for the bulls, because more bulls are still waiting for maybe a better confirmation, like I said, like a push, for example, above the 1.3240 zone. But the bears are are still also trying to understand where this or will this pair get held by this 21-day EMA or by this 1.3240 zone. So yeah, that's why there's a lot of uncertainty for both sides. But more bears could join in if we see a drop below that 1.31 zone, and ideally, as I said before, a daily candle staying below this 1.31 zone could do the trick for more sellers. GBPJPY. GBPJPY is, well, it's a bit of a mess here. Let me just remove all the drawings and start fresh. So after kind of finding good support here at the end of September near the 133.05 level, the pair did drift higher, found good resistance here in around mid-October near the 138 territory, and then kind of drifted back down. But now you can see that it's kind of oscillating around all of its EMAs here, the 21-day, the 100-day EMA, and the 200-day EMA. So at the moment it's oscillating, so basically we cannot really do anything. It's just kind of I wanted to say is moving sideways, but to be honest, it's coiling up probably more than it's kind of ranging, I would say. So at the moment, that's the idea that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Now, if we are seeing a nice triangle formation here. Now, if we get a violation of one of these sides of the triangle, then yes, we'll consider the next short-term directional move. If you want to be a little bit more on the safe side, if let's say we get a nice pop above the upper side of this triangle, then keep your eyes on the last week's high here near the 137.66 zone. That might open the door towards higher levels, but if it drops through the lower side of this triangle and then falls below the low of the 16th of October near which is around the 135.40 zone, then yep, that's where it could become a little bit more interesting for more sellers. So guys, again, at the moment, basically, long story short, we're neutral. I'm neutral on this one because I want to see where this one is going to exit, but at the moment it's no wins game, and yep, it's going to be a bit of a tricky one unless you find yourselves, guys, a bit of a good entry point here somewhere. But if you do, then well, not probably, but definitely have a nice stop loss just in case this suddenly reverses against you, because again, while it's trading in this area right here, it could do whatever it wants, but once it gets out of this pattern, then yes, that's where maybe it could capture the trend and just follow the trend, and at least for a while, and we might kind of squeeze something out of this one. And finally, EURUSD. So here the pair is still stuck. Basically, this morning it seems that it hasn't moved, to be honest. It still remains below this 1.1867 territory and above this 21-day EMA. So in a way, as long as it remains in this area, I'm not really going to do anything. It's just going to continue observing the price action. But yeah, at the moment it's a tricky one. So wait for at least a pop above the 1.1867 territory in order to consider the upside, and for the downside, a drop below the 1.1787 territory right here may also also place the rate below the 21-day EMA and potentially kind of opening the door towards lower areas. But as I mentioned to you guys previously, that if I want to look at some lower areas, then yes, I will wait for a move below this area right here, below this 1.1696 territory right here, guys. So keep your eyes on these two levels. Let's see how all this is going to play out. But for now, I'm just neutral on this one. So guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening. This was a quick overview, quick run through some of the instruments that I looked at this morning, then and some new ones, of course. Join me on tomorrow morning, as always, my Traders Espresso, 7 o'clock GMT time, because we've turned the clocks. So yeah, 7 o'clock GMT time tomorrow morning, my Traders Espresso. I'll have a look at some of these instruments, some new ones, and then we'll take it from there. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.